How do you typically prepare for your ultramarathon race? Do you just book a race and hope for the best, or do you plan meticulously? And then how do you plan your training around that race? In this mini-series, Preparing to Perform, I'm going to take you through the way that I prepare for an ultra race and all the planning and research that's involved from the moment I book onto that race. So this mini-series will be broken down into 5 videos, but very much go hand in hand as a complete package in the process of preparing to perform. Now, all of these concepts are based on my personal experiences and the way that I like to prepare before entering a difficult race. But it's very much open to anyone that's new to ultra running or experienced in ultra running and wanting to get better at what they do. So this is episode 1 of Preparing to Perform, and this episode is race research. When I first got into ultramarathon running, and especially for my first 100 milers, I was just interested in the distance and getting a race booked under my belt. But nowadays a lot more thought goes into the race that I'm choosing to book. For me, race research is extracting as much useful information as possible to make me as best prepared as I can be for that race. And for me, this starts the moment you book the race. So my first port of call is always the race website. This is where you can get the first basis of information and data. What's the race? Where is it? When is it? How far is it? And what sort of terrain and elevation are you going to be experiencing? It also will give you information like number of checkpoints, are support crews allowed, and any cutoffs that you might need to consider. Ideally, the race will also provide a GPX file for you to download and either put onto a navigation device or your running watch. And the final bit of information that I find really helpful is past race results. I'll come on to that. Of course, if you're entering an ultramarathon, there's usually some mandatory kit requirements, so all the information on that will be on the website. But also a really good source of information is online community groups and forums. Using the different social media platforms, you can really extract some useful information on the course, any kit requirements, and prior experience from other runners. So I'm going to use the arc of attrition that I ran this year as an example, and how I used the race information and website that they provide to prepare myself, set my goals, and reach the start line being the best prepared I could be. So the information that I'm looking to extract, and ideally I put into a spreadsheet, is the course mileage and elevation. Those are the first 2 key things I look at. And I look at whether it's achievable for myself, given my past running history. So with the arc of attrition, we're looking at just over 100 miles, and we're looking at between 13 and 18,000 feet. I'll then look at the elevation spread over the whole course. Is it consistent throughout the course that the elevation is constantly changing, or is it concentrated to a particular area within the race that I need to maybe focus on or pay more attention to? In this case, for the arc, it was consistently spread throughout the whole course, and I knew there were some tough sections after halfway. So now that I've extracted the key information from the race website about this race, I can then put that into realistic goal setting brackets based on my prior 100-mile race experience. So last year in 2023, I did the Lakeland 100 in July, and I did that in 31.5 hours, and that had 22,000 feet of elevation. Then in September of last year, I did the Cotswold Way 100, and I did that in 22.5 hours, and that had 13,000 feet of climbing. So looking at the data from the arc of attrition, I can see that this race fits in between both of those races I did last year. So given the times I did in those 2 races of 22.5 hours and 31.5 hours, I can start to narrow down my goal setting process. Using my past 100-mile races from 2023, I knew I'd sit somewhere in between 24 hours and 30 hours. The way in which I decided on those 3 race time goals was by looking at past race results for the arc of attrition. They're freely available, and you can have a look at exactly what you want. So looking at the race results from 2023, I can see that at 23 hours, 53 minutes. From that, you can click on the name and look at tracking. And Open Tracking, which is the main service provider for a lot of these ultra races, will give you a breakdown of their splits through each of those checkpoints. You can then use that information to plan your own timings for that specific time goal. So for example, I could see that he went through Port Leven at 16:25, Penzance at 7:30, Land's End at almost 11:30, and St Ives at 6:15 in the morning. So I can use that information to transfer to my own race plan. Likewise, to go sub 26 hours, I looked at another competitor's information. Once you've found in the race results the person that has matched the goals that you're aiming for, you can go and find them on Strava and look at the race exactly as they ran it. So for sub 26 hours, and I can see that he did it in 25 hours and 40 minutes, and his pace average over that whole course was 15 minutes 6 seconds per mile. And that's the really important piece of information that I'm going to take from this time goal. Because on a long ultramarathon, I use pace average over the whole course as my gauge to my time goal. Once I've gathered all three of these data points, I'll start adding the data to my spreadsheet. So I've got the distance, the elevation. I then break it down into checkpoints and distances between checkpoints, and also times that I should be arriving or aiming to arrive at each checkpoint. Many ultramarathons have past results like this, and if it's done by open tracking, you can still access that data at a later date, and it will show you the checkpoints and those timings. So I highly recommend having a look at past race results and extracting that information to set yourself your own goals. So at this stage, you've booked your race, and all you're looking to do is extract some useful information from the website and other runners. You're not looking to put a plan together, you're not looking to buy any new kit, you're not looking at downloading a GPX. This race is more than likely months away, if not a whole year away. So you've got time. All you're doing now is extracting the information to prepare for the next phase, training. And that will be covered in the next video. If you've got any questions, please ask down in the comments. Thanks for watching.